Hi everyone, this is meowmurai. Let's check out Crypt Stalkers running on Nintendo Switch. Console game, handheld game. Oh, okay, must be different kinds of styles. Why would you want to leave the flickering on? What? I actually think it's a little loud. Louder than I would expect. Let's see, original difficulty, hard to master features, all the levels, and saving. Play this if you're new to retro difficulty. Saving is disabled in this mode. The sequel that never was. Play through 6 brand new challenging levels. Oh, well, I guess we're doing original. Chapter 1, The Desert Path. Oh, what the holy hell. How can you call this a retro game and make A, the attack button, and B, jump? No. Is there a way to change the controls? Yeah. No. No. What the holy hell? Who would program A to be the attack button and B to jump? That is the exact opposite of every NES game. Oh, there's no way to change the buttons. That is this. It's already the stupidest thing I've ever played. Certainly today. And no way to change the buttons. That's just dumb. Is this game released in 2024? Oh my god. This is awful. You can't even use Y as an alternative. Have you guys ever played an NES game? How in the world could you make this the default control scheme? I'm fighting decades of muscle memory because these guys weren't smart enough to have a control scheme change option, or to even know that the B button is the attack button. How can you be a retro game and not know that? Okay, you can't go back in the screen. So frustrating. Oh, and you can't go back. I mean, it's taking a lot of inspiration from Castlevania, but apparently they just have never played Castlevania, not knowing that A and B are reversed in that game. Just how could you screw this up? Every retro gamer knows it too. Like, it's just like the most basic thing to get wrong. Ugh, it just makes it so hard to control. It's just not good. Is that I'd feel differently if you could change the buttons, but you can't change the buttons. Why? Why? It's interesting they simulate the border scrolling from an NES game, where it doesn't quite build the edge of the border. On a modern display, obviously back in the day, there was overscan where the very edges of the screen weren't on display. But even in something like Mario 3, even if you had a fairly heavy or fairly bad tube where the overscan was pretty generous, right? Was pretty large. You could even see that in something like Mario 3 back in the day. It's interesting that they're aware of that, but again, I don't think you should copy everything. I think you should copy the things that I think you should copy the strengths of the NES and not the weaknesses, because the weaknesses are just are a bug, They were never intended to be there. Like the sprite flicker. I mean, the sprite flicker is just not a thing that anybody ever wanted. It's got a weird feel to it too. It's like the character is kind of sliding around. I mean, it reminds the animation and the feel reminds me more of a Genesis game. That's the thing about the Genesis. It's just I said, it just felt like things were sliding around, like your characters were sliding around on the screen. Just the way the animation and the character movement played with each other. How am I supposed to do that? Yeah, apparently I gotta learn it. Yeah, it's quite the startup animation too. I think it's just slightly slower than the Castlevania whip. There's like a little, like maybe 2 or 3 more frames of animation startup. So hard to get used to the buttons being reversed. Oh my god. It's just such a boneheaded mistake. I see the effect on the right hand side of the screen. Again, it's just, to me, it's just very misguided. It's not like we programmed that in when we were making games in the 8-bit era. It's it was a byproduct of the system. In those days, if we could have gotten rid of the effect, we would have. We didn't want it there. The high delay on the... I don't like the high startup times on the weapon animation. It's already bad enough that the buttons are reversed, much less like the long startup animation for the whip. I do like the pacing of the game. I mean, the game is fast. kind of a little more color than the NES can actually do, right? Like you would not typically see these kind of colors on an NES. Oh, there's a block there. Well, of course there is. You know what would have helped if the buttons were not reversed in a game where you have to jump. It's funny, they went through the trouble of copying so many things about the NES and the NES style of games, but they just get the control completely wrong. I don't understand. Didn't you go back and, like, play some of these games? Just to, you know, double check whether you're not or you're doing it right? I mean, did they grow up with an NES that was broken and the buttons were reversed? The only thing I can think of. I mean, because I think this is good outside of the control issues and the long startup time on the whip. I don't think it needs to be that long. Or just the ability to change your controls. You know, it's the thing that we wanted during the NES days too. I mean, I don't know, like, I think people who weren't around during this era must think that we made these decisions, like, purposeful. I was like, oh no, well, of course I want to have it so that the controls are of course I want to have it so that I can't change the controls. I was like, no. Back in the 80s and 90s when we were playing games, well, the 90s kind of, you know, late 80s and 90s, when we were playing these games that didn't allow you to change controls, we wanted the option back then too. We wanted to be able to change controls back then. It's a thing that we complained about as well. It's like, it's not like this is some new thing that people, you know, have only wanted recently. We wanted them since the NES days. Okay, dude, I cannot stand trying to play this game with the first controls. This is meowmurai. You've been watching Crypt Stalker running on Nintendo Switch. I think there's some good ideas here, but the controls are wrong, quite frankly, and I can't get over that. And how you can make an NES-inspired game and then get the NES controls wrong is really beyond me. I just don't even know what you're thinking at that point in time. No ability to change the controls. It's got, again, a long startup time on the whip. I think it could be shortened just a little bit, and that would enhance the playability. You know, it's got the knockback. When you get hit, you get knocked back. You know, a gameplay that again, you know, even during the height of the NES era, we were complaining about that as a game mechanic. It is not a game mechanic we enjoyed. You know, it was just a way to generate cheap deaths, and you had to make those games hard back then because you had a limited amount of levels that you could create. So you had to make a game last, and the way you made a game last is you made the difficulty high. And one of the techniques of making a difficulty high was to have a kind of a cheap mechanic to to force the player to die, or to make it very hard to stay alive. So yeah, I mean, this is to me, this is the wrong way to approach a retro game. We played a lot of games that were the right way, but yeah, I don't really feel that this is it. It's kind of a shame too, because I think it's good. I think like the base game is probably very good, but the control issues just really put a dead stop to it. Maybe later on, if they have an option to change the controls, then I think I would revisit this. But if this is it, if this is one and done and there's no updates, then I will never play this game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.